Alrighty guys, what is going on everybody? Of course, my name is Blitzwinger and welcome on back to another LEGO review. Today we're taking a look at something that I've never taken a look at before, which is LEGO Galaxy Squad. This is set number 70707. I love that it had 3 7s in it, so I had to pick it up. Well, plus I got it on clearance. Because as you guys know, I've predominantly only been collecting the movie sets and then the superhero sets, both the DC Comics and the Marvel superhero sets. But when I saw this thing, I was certainly intrigued, especially for the price that I found it, which was really cool. So that being said, of course, this is the ERADICATOR MECH set. And I gotta say, this thing is super uber duper impressive. So this set is 440 pieces, as you will be able to tell right there. A beautiful, absolutely gorgeous box right here. As you can see, there's our ERADICATOR MECH, the 2 minifigures that come with the set. Which you can kind of see them right down here as well. And then, of course, it also showcases the 2 bugs that you get in this set as well. So, that being said, once you fully assemble it, which will take you a pretty good time, I'd probably say that it would take you about 40 minutes all the way up to an hour, maybe a little over that, just because there's quite a bit of complexity with the mech. So, that being said, let's go ahead and remove this to see the fully assembled set, which is looking pretty gosh darn cool. So of course we've got the ERADICATOR MECH, sorry, I keep saying Mac, like it's a Mac computer, my apologies about that. But that set looks really cool, but we'll take a look at that in just a moment. First let's begin with the bugs. So there are 2 bugs in total, as you can see. And let me move this a little further out. And okay, my camera is not focusing, there we go, perfect. So you will notice that, first of all, there's a little something in there, and you're like, hey, what is that? Well, this is one of the coolest game mechanics, or not game mechanics, what am I talking about? Coolest little mechanics, little mechanisms that are thrown into this, which basically, if you open this up, bam, you can put a minifigure in there. How cool is that? That was something that was a very, very pleasant surprise. I have to admit, I was pleasantly surprised by that. We'll take a look at the minifigure in just a moment, of course. But this is a pretty cool little idea. I think that it works really nicely. I think it's really cool that it's translucent green. Definitely works for an alien-like bug. The other thing that is really intriguing about these bugs, well, first of all, they look awesome because there's a lot of really cool colors being used here. All these greens and dark reds. Kind of maybe even burgundy colors there. But again, very, very cool design. But furthermore, the fact is that both of these bugs have pretty much the same skeleton. Yet, if you place them together in one area, like so, let me zoom out a little bit for you guys. You'll notice that they are very different. Like, yes, you could say, well, the heads are exactly the same, and that is true. But predominantly, if you look at the 2 of them, you won't think, oh, those are the exact same bug. They definitely look very different, and really, there's not much to them that you do that allows them to be differentiated. I mean, all you do is add these 2 pieces right here, which allow you to have kind of a more of a firefly look here, and then a little bit of difference on the structure of the skeleton of the actual kind of back design here. Other than that, it's the exact same build to a T, which really shocked me, and these were really fun to assemble. I think that this is something that if I manage to find the pieces that I need, I would definitely like to experiment and get some more different bugs going with the same type of skeleton, because I think it works really well and it's very, very, very diverse in terms of what it can accomplish. So first of all, of course, there's, except for the mechanism with the rotating butt here, I guess, you can also move the head a little bit up and down, which is not that impressive. I think that it's a little bit... it's cool, but it doesn't really offer enough to be an interesting thing. However, what I do find interesting is these legs here. So, what I love first of all is that if you position the legs really high up, like so, it gives you a little bit of a spider-like look to it, or maybe even kind of like a bug-like, I should say. More, well, spiders are bugs. What am I talking about? I might have said, I should have at least said insects. That would have been even worse. But I think that the cool thing here is that you get a completely different silhouette by having the feet up versus if you bring them down to the maximum height that you can. Now it definitely looks more like spider-like, whereas when you push it up, it almost reminds me a little bit of like a mosquito or something like that. A different, completely different bug structure here. However, that is not all. What you can do is, and sorry about that, I've had a little bit of a cough lately, sorry about that. But what you can do is you can rotate the feet around, which this is, by the way, not something that is shown on the instructions. This is just something that I've come up with while messing around with these guys. But if you can flip the feet around, you can give them these shorter, even shorter feet. And again, a completely different look. Like, I love the fact that you can really, really mess around with these guys to a great degree and continuously come up with different ways to display them. And that's just such a pleasant surprise, because I thought that they would be the worst part of this set. I thought, oh, they're going to be so plain and so simple, but yet they're so simple that their simplicity allows them to still have a lot of diversity, which is really cool. And a lot of diversity in display and kind of how you're going to mess around and play with these guys. So that is kind of the most basic bug there. The other guy here does have a little bit of the benefit of having these little wings here, so you could kind of, you know, position these however you want to be maybe around the actual little butt part here, and that's pretty cool. You could also position, of course, this the circle right here, or I don't know what you'd call this little capsule. It's not a butt, it's not his butt, but I don't know what it is. So basically you could kind of maneuver that around, which I should know what that is, because considering I absolutely adore bug design. So that's obviously one of the main reasons as to why I really enjoy the set. Now right there you saw one of my problems with this guy is that I wish that these little plugs on the sides would have been able to come up so that you could have the wings kind of come up along with this little piece. I think that that's something that's a bit of a missed opportunity personally, but then again, maybe that is something that only I really kind of care about. So that being said, those were the bugs. Again, you saw that you could position the minifigure in there. Now let's get to the actual Eradicator mech suit. So, whoops, wait a minute. Forgot to rotate this back around. Ay carambas, there we go. Alright, so first off, this thing is super uber impressive. It's got an opening cockpit right here to allow you to position your pilot in there. So let's go ahead and drop him in. And you actually have to have his hands a little bit higher. So get in there, buddy. Now, by the way, I don't know if these guys have names or anything like that in terms of the actual pilots and the minifigures that come along with the set. Maybe they do. So my apologies. Maybe the bugs have names as well. I don't think that there's been like a Galaxy Squad TV show or movie or something like that, but maybe I'm wrong. So let me know down in the comment section below. I'd definitely love to know. So that being said, this thing is obviously predominantly white and orange, which is very, very cool. A very cool color combination that you don't see very often being used for these types of things like mech suits and such. So I really found that to be a really cool color combination to begin with. However, this thing is absolutely awesome from a design standpoint and everything. You'll see in just a moment. It's got so many cool factors. So, majority of the details on this thing are actually done through stickers. So you'll notice that there are plenty of stickers all around, such as right here, on the other arm up there, or you can see that up there. There's also details right here on the calves. I love this little detail on the foot here, because, well, let me get my camera to focus on that. You'll see kind of like as though he squashed a bug or something, which is pretty sweet. I also like how sturdy this thing is. It looks flimsy, I know, but if I flip it over and I shake it, I'm shaking it pretty strong right now. Nothing's falling out, as you see, which was very, very surprising in a good way, and I was very pleasantly surprised by that. Now, the other reason why he's very sturdy when he's standing is because of this really cool build of where you position these little back hoists right here behind his ankles, and what that does is it allows him to have plenty of leverage, so he will stand very, very sturdy and very firm, even in some dynamic poses, you know, where you can have him really, look at that, look at those legs, wide-legged and such. So I think that that is really an awesome element to this guy, that not only is he a cool build, but he's also a very, very cool actual robot to mess around with. So, furthermore, some of his other cool mechanics include these two arms right here, which you might have noticed by now, because they look absolutely epic. I know. Me too, I was very impressed by them. So first of all, we got this arm right here, which has this nice little detail right here, where you've got this little pointer that moves around, and obviously this probably provides some sort of a weaponized spray or something like that. But the cool part is that this can be removed and become a weapon, and I'll show you that in a moment. That becomes a weapon for the one of the minifigures, so you'll see that in just a sec. For now, we'll just leave it as it is. But then also in the back here, you've got this little setup which allows you, by rotating it, you've got this Gatling gun motion going, which looks awesome, and I absolutely adore the way that this has turned out. Overall, looks fantastic. Oh, okay, I see what happened. Sorry. I moved the ankle, it bent on itself. But you'll see, of course, the little Gatling gun feature right here, which I love that. That is just so cool. A very, very cool motion right there, and it works super duper nice where the back piece doesn't rotate, and then this front piece is the only one that's rotating. So very, very cool indeed. And I love that they didn't just make it like cheaply where there would be nothing to actually hold on to and you'd have to just rotate it up front here with your fingers. You can kind of simulate the idea of a Gatling gun by keeping your fingers back here and seeing the Gatling gun rotate, which is quite cool. Now, his other hand, or his other arm, is definitely no slouch because it's got 5 launching missiles. So these are flick missiles or push missiles, where as you push these along, they will fly out. They're pretty simple, nothing too complex to them. At this point, we've seen plenty of these, and there's actually 2 more on the mech suit, which are actually right up here in the wings. So those obviously have a little bit of a push missile action to them as well, so that's quite lovely indeed. Now the other thing is, you might have noticed I've been messing around with a lot of the articulation on this thing, and that's because this thing is super well articulated, I have to admit. I'm going to try to get my camera to focus a little better here, sorry about that. But basically, the cool thing is that he's got completely, not ball jointed, but it almost accomplishes like a ball jointed type maneuverability up here. So it's got nice little ratcheting joints to allow for up and down, and that can go in 360, a wide legged range right there. And then the ankles are really nicely articulated on a ball joint, so you've got plenty of range there. However, what you have to be kind of working around always is this little tip back here that I pointed out, because you want to make sure that the weight gets distributed onto the ankle from the back here. Otherwise, it's going to tip over and fall down, because as you can see, he's got quite a bit of a backpack going on here, which you might also notice the next pilot back here. So we'll talk about that in just a sec though. So other than that, the arms are pretty fairly well articulated. I wish that there would have been a nice little joint here as well. That would have been a nice addition, so you could kind of, you know, fold up the cannon and push it forwards. But it's still nice. There's still a nice range, and he does have a little bit of a stubby arm syndrome of where his arms seem very, very short. But it actually doesn't look that bad when we do something to the design, which I'll show you guys right now. So basically, what you can do is unfold these. Oh yeah, I forgot, by the way, the wings can also obviously move up and down to allow you for a little bit of a different look on here. Okay, come on, ankle. Why are you not working with me all of a sudden? I was just praising you. But basically, alrighty, sorry about that, guys. My camera just ran out of memory. Sorry that I didn't check before. I didn't realize that I would be blabbering for this long. So, my apologies. We were just at the part where I was about to show you the little transformation to this particular little guy. So, or big guy in this case, I guess. All you have to do is just come up here, and you'll notice that there's a little bit of a separation there between the ship and the actual mech. And then we just tug on this. Boom! It separates like so. We're going to push the rest of the mech to the side for just a moment. We'll get to that in just a sec. And then you get this nice little ship right here. So I have to say that this thing is awesome. It's very cool. It's definitely kind of more like more of a drop pod or something like that, you know, an escape pod than an actual ship, but I think that it works nicely. It's nice. One pilot obviously can house one pilot very comfortably. Maybe you could put some tiny little minifigure in there as well. I don't know. You'd have to really work at it. There's a nice little display console on the inside there, so that's quite cool as well. Of course, the launching missiles, moving wings. It definitely reminds me of a vehicle from Star Wars or something. And then, as if all that wasn't enough, there's also a tiny little dispatch disc that you can release. And you unfold that, and then bam! As you can see, that looks like probably either a mine or maybe a bomb or something like that. Maybe it's some sort of a tracking device. I'm not exactly sure what it is within the realm of the Galaxy Squad, so to speak. So overall, very cool. Not much to say about this, not a lot of details to it, but again, it's really cool that the mech separates and can become a spaceship and still remain a mech. So speaking of which, let's bring in this thing back into the spotlight. Now, if you remember just moments ago, I showed you guys that this guy has got another pilot in the back here. And, well, guess what? This pilot wants to pilot the actual mech suit, the ERADICATOR mech suit. So, all you have to do is the following. You just bring this down, bam, and it locks into place pretty firmly, so that's really nice. And then all you do is you rotate the waist around, boom, and there you have it. You got yourself the newly adjusted ERADICATOR mech, now being piloted by this little robot dude who looks awesome. I love the little headpiece that they used for him. You'll see the minifigures in just a second, more detail, but That looks absolutely fantastic. Just like the little detail I pointed out on the boots here with the smooshed out bug, here as well you'll see on the windshield, you'll notice that there's a little smooshed out bug there, which again, very cool. Plus a little bit of target details as well. Again, some of the stickers are probably a bit crooked just because I'm not perfectly good with stickers. Again, it's one of those things that I need to get better at for sure. So, that being said, that is pretty much all there is to the mech suit. I mean, it's very cool. I love the fact that when you transform him, the arms and everything becomes a little bit more proportionate, which then when you realize the fact that there's this transformation sequence here, you realize how cool it is that they managed to make the mech look appropriately sized with the spaceship attached and without the spaceship attached. So I absolutely adore that, and I think that that looks fantastic. You'll also notice there are 2 additional blasters right here for a little bit of extra firepower, as if there wasn't enough, right? And what those can do is actually come on, there we go, unhook. I was trying to get them both and say unhook at the same time. And they can be obviously held by our pilot over there, so I'll show you that in just a moment. Now, the final thing that we're going to just take off the mech suit before I show you the minifigures is the weapon I mentioned before, if you recall. So all we have to do is just come down here, and we're just going to tug that off, and there you go. There's the next weapon that we're going to take a look at in just a sec. So, as far as transforming back, very simple. Obviously, you would just, same thing, push this forwards, then, whoops, okay, you know what, let me just get the pilot out of there already, so that we can be ready to take a look at that minifigure. And let me take out the other pilot too. Come on, there we go. And then you obviously just bring in the ship again. That connects onto there. And you just rotate this back around, and bam, transformation complete. So it definitely has a little bit of a Transformer element to it as well, which if you guys know me, you know that I love Transformers, so that is a very, very cool thing indeed. So, with all that being said, now that we've blabbered on for long enough, let's begin taking a look at the weapons that the minifigures come with, and then of course the minifigures themselves. So, first off, the regular pilot, which would be this guy, the actual kind of human pilot, he comes with these 2 blasters right here. Very cool, by the way. Typically, this is the Lego pistols that you get, but these are extended with, actually, I think these are typically used for binoculars, which, again, I love how diverse Lego pieces are, but I think that this looks awesome, especially when you put it in his hands, because it looks like he's double-wielding shotguns or something, or like space shotguns, and that definitely gives him a bit of a don't mess with me kind of look, like right there, bam. That is definitely not a guy you want to mess with, so that is definitely very, very cool indeed. Now, speaking of guys you don't want to mess with, you don't want to mess with a guy that's holding a gun like this, because you're like, what the heck does that even shoot? So you'll see that there's a little bit of a pointer there, so you could kind of aim. This bit here rotates, and I'm assuming it's releasing some sort of an energy blast or something, maybe like a wave blast or something, I guess you would call it that. You know, where it's like it kind of pushes the enemies away instead of actually like shooting them or anything like that. And I think that that would be a viable thing. By the way, this is a steering wheel, so again, very, very diverse. And of course, he can hold it very, very firmly. And I keep calling him he because, again, I don't know the names of these guys in particular. So there you go. It's a giant, giant gun there indeed. So, you know what? Since we're looking at this fella, we might as well stick with him. So I'm just going to go ahead and put him on the little stand display that I've got here, and you'll see that this thing looks awesome. So if you're wondering if there's a Lego head underneath there, nope, there isn't. This is the Lego head, which has me very excited about the possibilities of Lego doing like maybe a Gundam or something, because that looks so cool. That looks very Gundam-esque. He's got a really cool armor set here. As you can see, he's got this really cool chest piece, but then in the back you clip in these wing pieces, and obviously you could mess around with this and point them down if you want. That is definitely a possibility, so you could kind of look more like a wingsuit. You could play, what's his name? Not the Falcon, right? In the next Captain America movie. Of course, predominantly orange, so I'm assuming this is supposed to be kind of a robot. This is not supposed to be a human, since the helmet and all is, there's no human underneath there. Or at least no Lego minifigure underneath there. So I love this design. I think that it looks fantastic. I just would love for Lego to do this more often and kind of sculpt different head sculpts for figurines. I think that would be kind of a novel idea, and I hope that that is something that they will continue to do, because this head sculpt is absolutely beautiful and looks fantastic. So, that being said, let's get on to the next minifigure. I'm just going to go ahead and pull out his guns here. And of course, this set only comes with 2 minifigures, which I know might upset some people. So, I know that that's a bit of a downside to the set, but you do get a ginormous mech suit, double interchange with, you know, 2 different pilots can pilot it, and you could have a spaceship, plus you get 2 different aliens. So I think that it's a fairly good value here. So notice that this guy's a little bit more of a commander, maybe a cadet, I don't know what you would call him specifically within the Galaxy Squad. Again, predominantly orange armor for this fella. He also comes with a pretty cool helmet. Unfortunately, the visor does not actually pull up, and he does have actually 2 different expressions. So he's got this mask look, which I'm assuming you kind of use in order to not have the mask, so he could be on you know, planets where all these bugs are and not worry about breathing in poor air or something. And you can go ahead and flip that over, and then he's got a bit more of a, hey, what's going on, kind of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson lifting up his eyebrow look as well. Definitely a little bit happier, like he took down some Eradicators, I'm assuming. The Eradicator mech suit? I'm assuming those are, maybe those are called Eradicators. I just came up with that name for them. But nonetheless, a very cool little minifigure indeed. So overall, I would definitely say that this is a very, very solid set. It offers a great diverse set. You got yourself an awesome mech suit, 2 absolutely awesome bugs that you get to mess around with and kind of customize further than what even the instructions pertain or say. And I love the transforming mechanism of the actual mech suit itself. So, all in all, I would definitely give this set a way high recommendation, and I would definitely recommend for those of you who are like me and you've never tried the Galaxy Squad, this is definitely a set that you could kind of dip your toe in, and I will stand by the set as a very solid offering in terms of building toy that is fun to build, but more importantly, I had so much fun just messing around with the posability and the transformation and how quick it is to go from spaceship to mech to giant mech to miniaturized mech. I mean, it's just really cool and very, very diverse in that way. So overall, again, as I've said before, thank you guys so very much for watching. You guys are absolutely fan-flipping-tastic. Smash that like button if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more. And of course, I will catch you guys next time. Peace out. See you later. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot. Let me know which Galaxy Squad sets I should be looking at next, because after looking at this set, let me know if there are any other sets in the Galaxy Squad roster of sets, if there are any other sets that are similar to this one and are sets that I might find cool. So that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and of course have a fantastic day, and I'll see you later, alligators. Bye bye guys!